So hi guys, I'm back and we're in the second part of our video. I'm just gonna call it the second part because our last stream kind of cut off. Our ISP internet went completely dead for like half an hour. So anyway, we're just gonna call this part 2. And where we left off last time, we were about to see how we can add a different character to our project, to our blueprints, basically our zombie blueprint and maybe even the female character blueprint. So a few things I have to do again. I have to set the default pawn class to the warrior character one more time, and I have to add the start point, player start point again. Okay, so I've done that. So now if I click play, I should be able to just go straight into the game with the warrior character. Yeah, so that's all functional. And I'll also have to add my zombie character to the level. It's not 100% necessary right now, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do that so we can just have it there. So under the blueprints, I'm gonna add the zombie blueprints. As I said before, the navigation mesh is already built. So yeah. So before our stream cut off, I was talking about the way the blueprint is set up, and that I'm not using any AI trees and I'm not using any blackboards or numerators or any of that other stuff. It's just pure blueprints, and some people might like that, some people might not like that. Some people think that it's more organized to like have all this complicated stuff like functions and numerators for your weapon systems and AI trees for your AI and all the rest of that. But yeah, those things are built for that purpose, but they're a lot harder to understand than just a pure blueprint. Like for example, if I had an AI tree, it would be really complicated. But if I'm just in a pure blueprint, all I have to do to get my character to move around and find my player, rather to get my zombie to move around and find my player, is just have an AI move to with an acceptance radius when it finds the player. Maybe when it's 180 units within the player's distance, it's considered as a successful movement, and so on and so forth. That's really simple to understand. You just set it to walk and you set it to move to that location. It's found the player, and you can tell it to do something else when it's successfully moved to the player. For example, when it's successfully moved to the player, it initiates an attack, and everything comes after that. Whether it should back off or whether it should hit the player, whether a collision window should be set open, and all the rest of that. It's pretty easy to understand, unlike an AI tree, which is much more complicated. So the way I see it, if somebody wants an AI tree, they can build that on their own. If somebody doesn't want an AI tree, they have a blueprint to work with already, and we can integrate this blueprint into an AI tree if we want to as well. So I think this is a lot more user friendly. So I think in the beginning, about 4 years ago, when I purchased, not me, when the company I was working for purchased a product from the marketplace which came with AI trees and blackboards and all the rest of that stuff, we were barely able to work with it immediately because that stuff was so complicated. So if you like AI trees, then you can go ahead and add that to what's already here. But for people who wanna work with something that's purely blueprints and very easy to just tap into and edit, I think this is better. So anyway, if we look at our blueprint, we've got this zombie character, okay, and he's got his animation blueprint and a few other things the sword, the weapon collision box. This is what tells our character whether it's been hit or not. And we're going to have to change a few of those things if we want to add a new character like Sevarog from Paragon. I can search for Sevarog here. I don't know how you pronounce it, whether it's Sevarog or Sevarog. So anyway, we've got this character who's originally from Paragon, and we're gonna use him to replace our zombie character. So our zombie character, his weapon is not a part of his skeletal mesh, unlike Sevarog. Sevarog's weapon is a part of the skeletal mesh. So that's one of the issues we're gonna have to deal with here. Almost every Paragon character has the weapon attached to the skeletal mesh by default. Okay, it's not like here where we've got the weapon separate from the skeletal mesh. Okay, the reason why my weapon is separate from the skeletal mesh is because my product is got customization in it. You can have different weapons and different parts of your costume and so on and so forth. So that's why the weapon comes separately. Okay, because if it comes together with the mesh like this, then we can't change it. You know, this is written in stone, it can't be changed. Okay, unless you export it to a third-party application and delete it and re-import it back into Unreal Engine. Okay, so since we want to use Sevarog, it means we have to deal with this weapon. Okay, now we're not going to export it to an external application and maybe try and separate it or something like that. No, we want to use Sevarog the way he is, so that means we're just going to have to use this the way it is. Okay, so before we start changing the character, we're just going to take one last look at how this functions. So I'm going to press play. I'm gonna wait for it to load up. Okay, it's loaded up. So my zombie has seen me. He reaches me, he attacks me. I can attack him. So you'll notice that when he had his first attack, he started backing off. Okay. There's another character in here. This monster is for something else. I'm just gonna delete it from this level. This monster is for another game project I'm working on, so that's a story for another day. So I'll go ahead and delete that, and we're back in here. So as I was saying, when he attacked me, he started backing off, walking backwards. Okay. So when we think about a character like Sevarog and the animations that Sevarog has available for him, he might not have everything we need to make him function with this blueprint. So we could either, you see he's walking backwards there. Okay, I don't think Sevarog has that. So we can either delete that function, or we can add it by making some new animations for Sevarog. It's up to you, basically. Okay. So anyway, this character is driven by root motion animations, and that root motion animation is what makes him walk backwards. It's nothing to do with like some fancy stuff I set up in the blueprint or anything. It's just an animation that makes him walk backwards. Okay, and I think having those kind of animations, those kind of root motion animations, like the backward walks, just makes it easier to make your character more dynamic. If I open this up and I tell this animation to play at a certain point in my blueprint, like maybe when I want him to back off from the character, that means I don't have to worry about creating that motion, okay, within the blueprint. That motion is already created within my root motion animation. Okay, so when he's backing off, or rather when he's been told to back off, we can find that function in here. So when he initiates the attack and he attacks, and I tell him to randomly select the next action, he can reinitialize the attack, or he can do something else, like, let me just find it here. He can do something else like withdraw the attack. Okay, because for him to be more dynamic, let's say if he reaches the player, he hits the player, and he just keeps on hitting the player, that's not very dynamic. It's just repeating the same thing over and over again. But if we tell him to withdraw the attack, then it looks a lot more dynamic. That's why he's able to move backwards. While he's backing off, if we add a faster animation, you could use it as a dodge or something like that, you know. So that root motion just makes it more dynamic, and I don't have to start, you know, telling the blueprint which direction he has to go in, because that information is already in the animation. Alright. So anyway, in the case of Sevarog, it's not gonna be that easy, because he doesn't have root motion animations. So it's up to you to decide whether you want to add some root motion animations or use another method to make him more dynamic. Okay. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and pick up our Sevarog mesh. I'm looking for this button right here. Find him in the browser. I'm gonna pick on him, and we're gonna go to our zombie blueprint. You might want to back this blueprint up in case you want to do something else with it later on. So I'm just gonna make a duplicate of it, and I'm gonna add it the original one. One thing you have to remember is once you've made a duplicate, when you're calling this blueprint from another blueprint, like the character blueprint, the warrior character, which is our main character, this duplicate is not gonna be found because it's a different blueprint now. You know, this is BP1, whereas our original blueprint is just BP. Okay, so you're gonna have to change some things within the character blueprint, that is the warrior character blueprint, because it's not able to see this new blueprint we've created, unless maybe we made a child of it, but we're not making a child. We just want to have a backup here. So anyway, in our original blueprint, I'm gonna go to the viewport. I'm gonna find the Sevarog character. That's that one there. And I'm going to select our default mesh, and I'm gonna switch it out for Sevarog. One of the first things you'll notice is that the size of our capsule component and the size of Sevarog is totally different. So you might want to increase the size of the capsule component. I'm gonna leave it like that for now. If I see anything that tells me that I should definitely increase it, that's when I'll do that. But for now, I'm gonna just leave it like that. You can change the size if you think it's necessary. Okay, so now you notice that we've got two weapons now. Okay, we've got our original weapon, and we've got Sevarog's weapon here, which is attached to his skeletal mesh. And we've also got this hitbox. Okay, so this hitbox is parented to our skeletal mesh, our weapon skeletal mesh. So it always moves with this, but now we want it to move with Sevarog's weapon. Okay, because when Sevarog swings his sword, we want that collision to occur. Right now, if I press play, Sevarog is not gonna have any animations. It's not gonna have any, like, the only thing it's gonna do is just move towards me, and nothing's gonna happen because we haven't set up any logic for this Sevarog character. Okay, and that problem we were having, I didn't save this file, so that problem we were having of the camera just going into the character's body has returned. So we need to take care of that again. So anyway, that's the first thing that I'm going to take care of. I'm going to go to my blueprints, and I'm going to edit the warrior character. And I'm just going to go to the capsule component. Under collisions, I'm going to set it to block all. Right now it's set to pawn and it doesn't seem to be blocking other pawns. Instead of block all, we could try something. I don't know if it will work or not, but we could try and set this to custom, and we could set it to block other pawns and maybe physics bodies as well, and that should solve our problem. Like I said in the previous video, we don't have this problem with our original RPG game pack, but this is now a different project, so it's gonna behave differently. So this could work, it could not work. Okay, this has worked. Okay, so we're not overlapping anymore. Okay, it's blocking the other pawn. And it will work even better if we increase the size of the capsule component that's on Sevarog here. So anyway, some of the things you can see, his health gauge is automatically there. That's because it's part of the blueprint, that's the health bar. So that's one thing we don't have to worry about, adding a health gauge to Sevarog. So I've totally changed what I'm calling him. It's now Sevarog since the character is Sevarog. It's not a zombie anymore. So the next thing we're going to do here is Sevarog needs some motion. He needs some animations. Sevarog comes with his own blueprint, but that blueprint was made specifically for the purpose of Sevarog being the player. But right now Sevarog is the enemy. Okay, so we're not going to use this. We're going to right click on Sevarog and we're going to create a new blueprint, a new animation blueprint. And I'll just leave it named like that, the default name. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to start adding animations so that Sevarog is able to have animations while he's moving around. And some of the things we're going to change before we start adding animations, we're going to go to the blueprint and we're going to change the speed, the character movement speed. So if you remember, as I've been saying over and over again, our zombie character was driven by, the motion was driven by root motion. All his movements were root motion. Sevarog doesn't have root motion animations by default, and we're not gonna make any of those. So we're just gonna work with what he does have. So one of the first things we're gonna have to change is the character movement. Okay, the movement speed. When he's moving, we want him to move at least 250 speed. Okay, and I'm gonna compile that. If we look at how that's working now within our game, when we play our game, you're gonna see that he moves a lot faster now. He can almost keep up with me. We might wanna increase the speed if we want him to be able to keep up with us, but I'm fine with this. Yeah. So now he can move a lot faster. He was able to move because I set the speed to 80 before that, but yeah, now he can move a lot faster. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add a forward movement animation here. Okay, so we're going to go to Sevarog's animations and we're gonna create a new blend space just there in the blend space folder. I'm gonna make it a 1D blend space. I'm not going to make something very complicated. We don't want this video to be like extremely complicated and long. It's just going to be enough to get you to get your character changed. So I'm going to look for Sevarog's skeleton and I'm gonna have that. This new blend space, I'm going to name it idle and walk blend space. So I'll just let that autosave finish. I'm gonna rename it idle walk. Should probably put the initials BS there. That's for blend space. I'm gonna add BS at the end. So I do work blend space. I'll open that up, and under the filters I'm gonna look for idle animations. So idle at 0. And this is going to be called this horizontal axis, we're gonna call it speed. Yeah, so when it's at 0, it's just gonna play the idle animation. And when it's at 100, I'm gonna set it to 250. So when it's at 250, it's gonna be at full speed. So I'm gonna look for a forward animation. Jog forward. This says additive animation type does not match existing samples, so this isn't gonna work. We're just gonna find another one. Let's use forward uphill. I'm pretty sure it looks almost the same. Yeah, so that one works. So when he's at 200 speed, that's the animation that plays. When he's not moving, it's just idle. So I'm gonna save that, and I'm gonna go to our animation blueprint, and I'm going to add that blend space we just created here. And I'm not going to create like any state machines or anything like that. That complicates the project at the moment. But if you want to add state machines, you can add those. If you don't want any state machines, you can use the method I'm gonna use here, and I'm gonna blend the animations with boos instead of state machines. So anyway, we've got that connected. Right now there's nothing driving this. Okay, so we're gonna add a few things that are gonna drive that animation. Okay, so under try get owner, we're gonna cast this to, okay, we'll add an is valid node first. So is valid, it's gonna check if this is valid or not. We're gonna add a branch and then connect is valid to there. Okay, so we've got that, and we're gonna cast. We're gonna go to the get on owner. We're gonna cast to the zombie blueprint. That's the one where Sevarog is in currently. So we're gonna connect that to true. So if it's valid, it's cast to the zombie blueprint, and we're going to get the, should be the, not the character movement, we're gonna get the velocity of the blueprint, and we're gonna get the vector length. This is what's going to tell us how fast the blueprint is moving. And we're going to add a variable here. We're going to call it speed, and this is going to be a float. Okay, so whatever speed this this zombie blueprint is moving at, it's going to be set. It's going to appear. It's going to be. Well, what can I say? That value of the speed the character is moving at is going to be in this vector length, and that's what's going to set the speed of our animation. Okay, so I'm gonna set that speed and connect it there and connect it here. Okay, so if you've got some basic understanding of how motion works in animation blueprints, you should know exactly what's going on here. But basically, when our character is moving at maximum speed, that's 250, this idle blend space is going to change to walking. Okay, I'm gonna connect this here, and that's what's going to drive my character. I'm not really sure why the preview asset is not showing anything. So I'm just going to test it in the game to see if anything is working or not, because I'm not really sure why it's not updating here. Okay, so the reason it's not updating is probably because in our zombie blueprint we haven't added the animation blueprint that we created. So I'm gonna select this and I'm gonna go for animation class. I'm gonna set it to Sevarog. So the one we created should be this one right here. I'll set it there and I'll compile that. I'm gonna find it just to make sure it's the correct one. Okay, I'll compile that again. And I'm just gonna try and click play and see if it's working now. And no, it isn't. So I see that's the thing about Unreal. You're always gonna bump into some kind of problem. It's just normal. Even when you know what you're doing, you're gonna bump into some kind of problem. So I'm going to kind of look at this. Okay, let's try and go through here. Yeah, we definitely got the correct class selected. So I'm pretty sure that this is the default animation blueprint that Sevarog comes with. Yeah, it definitely is. You know, this was so easy to do the first time I did it. But this time around, it seems to be a little bit more complicated. I don't know why this is here. I don't think it should be. So I'm just gonna look at my zombie blueprint, animation blueprint, just to see if I've done anything wrong. Our answer is probably in there, because we want to make it the same. Okay, so I just missed this. Well, this is the wrong one. This is not what I was supposed to be using. I'm supposed to be using. Let's try that again. Is valid. I'm supposed to be using this one, not the one we were using. And I'll connect that there. Compile it. I'm gonna change this out again. I'll compile that. And go to our animation graph. Open this up. You know, this is our problem right there. For some reason, there's nothing in here. I don't know if I didn't add anything, but okay, so we've got the wrong one. Okay, so that's our problem. Yeah, so now if I come back here and just add the correct asset instead of the wrong one, it should work. So it should be this one instead of what we added there. So I'll connect that, I'll connect this, and everything should run now. Yeah. So that's a problem you can have if you've got multiple, like multiple assets. You might end with multiple assets with similar names. You end up with a problem of like maybe adding the wrong asset, and it will look like things are not working. Oh, because they're not working, but they should be working. Yeah. So anyway, it's working now. Okay. And we even resolved another issue in the process. That's where we were using the wrong is valid node. So yeah, in the end, other than a few minutes, it doesn't really hurt us much. It's helped us in some ways. So I've clicked play. And so now when Sevarog comes towards me, you can see he's moving and he's animated. I can hit him. His health goes and he dies. Okay, so next thing we have to do here, we have to add some attack animations. That's where things will get a little bit more complicated. So Sevarog has got several animations, I should believe. If I remember correctly, there should be a swing animation, which we can use as an attack. So I'm gonna go for swing medium. I'll swing 1. Now you swing 1. Okay. Now one of the first things you have to consider when adding this animation is, how does the original character for this blueprint attack? Is this animation suitable? Is it going to make contact with the player and all the rest of that? Because you could just add an animation and find that he's just spinning but the player's not getting hit because maybe the weapon is too short, or maybe the collision is not in the correct position. So before we start adding that animation, the first thing we're going to do is, instead of having this collision box attached to this weapon, we're going to attach it to Sevarog. Okay, so I'm going to need to open up Sevarog, his mesh, and see exactly where I can attach that weapon. So we've got Sevarog's mesh here. I'm going to go into his skeleton, okay, because I have to attach it to his skeleton instead of to the weapon mesh, because we don't have a individual weapon mesh here. So in his skeleton, I'm just gonna search for weapon. I'm sure they've got some sockets in here. So we could put it at the weapon root, or we could put the collision box at on another position. So I'm gonna go for this one. I'm gonna copy that name so that I don't have to memorize it. And instead of attaching the weapon to the zombie, we're going to attach the collision box to Sevarog's weapon. I'm gonna get this out, and I'm gonna leave this exactly the way it is because now the mesh is Sevarog. I'm gonna change the weapon, the socket name. I'm gonna compile that. So now, if I just simulate this, I can see that that collision box is now attached to the weapon. But some things have changed. The scale has changed, and the position maybe isn't the best position. Maybe we can try and use a different socket. Instead of the root, let's try and put it somewhere closer to the tip. Okay, let's put it here. So let's copy weapon 1 socket and let's add it to our attached components node. Okay, that's wrong. Maybe we copied the location instead of the socket name. Okay, I'm just gonna copy the name, add it there, and we want to snap rotation, we want to snap location, but we don't want to snap the scale because the scale is wrong. So we'll keep relative on the scale. I'll compile that and I'll press simulate again, and there we go. It's now at the tip of the weapon. That's the more likely part to hit us. Actually, it's this part, but we're going to change it a bit. And it's facing the wrong direction, so we're just going to rotate this. I think it should be the x-axis. It could be the y or even the z. Not really sure. We'll compile that, and yeah, it's definitely wrong. We'll take it back 90 degrees up, and we'll change it from the y-axis 90 degrees. We'll compile that and simulate. No, oh, looks like it's Z. No, it definitely can't be Z. Definitely not. So I'm starting to think that it's an issue of updating the blueprint rather than us rotating the wrong direction. I do believe that it should be X. So I'll compile that and I'll just close that and reopen it. Because if I do remember correctly, this doesn't always update correctly. So I'll try again. Oh, okay, what we have to do is we have to set this to keep relative as well. And I'll simulate, and I'll set this back to normal, and I'll rotate it in X. I do believe it should work now. Okay, there, it works now. The next thing I'll do is I'll adjust the size so that it's as big as Sevarog's weapon. So I'll just press R and scale that up. I'll make it a bit long. And I'll compile that and simulate. So yeah, as you can see, that's a little bit more suitable. Maybe a bit shorter. So yeah, this is fine. This is the point we want to do the damage, because we don't want the damage to come from like the root of the weapon, just somewhere near the tip. So I'm gonna compile that, and the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add that attack animation. Okay, so we'll just find this swing asset. That's this one here, and if we look at our zombie character, his attack animation is a certain length, and this one is a certain length as well. If we look at sequence length, it says 1, that's 1 second. Okay, whereas our zombie character, on the other hand, the length of his animation is about 1.6 seconds. So I'm gonna delay this using the rate. I'll set the play rate to about 0.7 seconds. So that should extend the length of this to about roughly 1.6, 1.5, somewhere there. Okay. It's not gonna show us the length exactly, but we can guess about that much. That's all we want. The reason being, if the animation is too fast, that means the attack window, okay, because our character uses an attack window that tells us when it should damage our character. So the attack window needs to be long enough for him to swing his weapon. Okay. So it's a little bit hard to understand, but if you're doing this and you find that maybe your character's attacking, but your player is not getting hit, that's the reason, because the animation is playing too fast. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I've changed the length of the animation to kind of match the zombie animation. So if you have your own character, just make sure that the animation length of the attack is the same, or else you're going to have to start changing the settings in the zombie blueprint. Okay. So if we open up the attack animation for our zombie, yes, you can see the length there is 1.63 seconds. Okay, so try and match that length, because that's almost the length of the attack window. I'll go to the attack window here so you can better understand it. So this is the attack window. It's currently set to 0.5. That means by the time the animation is 0.5 seconds in, the collision window is open. That means it can collide with the player. Okay. and 0.4 seconds later it closes the collision window, which means the attack needs to make contact with the player within this window. Okay, it opens 0.5 seconds into the animation, and after 0.4 seconds it closes. Okay, that means after this time has passed, it can't make contact with the player anymore. The reason why it's been done like this is because we don't want the player to still be getting hit by the time the animation is at the end. Okay, so anyway, we've set that up. If we go to our Sevarog blueprint, we can now start to set up our attack animation. So within the zombie blueprint, we've got attacks here. Okay, we've got attack 1, we've got attack withdraw, we've got the attack collision window. Okay, so the collision window is the one I showed you just now, and then the attack 1, this is what's telling us that the first attack is actually happening. Okay, and this is what also drives the animation. When this is true, it means the attack animation is playing. Okay, if withdraw is true, it means he's withdrawing from the attack, or in other words, is walking backwards, the way we saw at the beginning of the video. He's not attacking anymore. Okay, so attack 1 is set true when we initiate the attack. Okay, that's when the zombie has successfully moved to the player. Okay, it initiates the attack only if the attack is not true. Okay, so attack 1 has to be false. All right, so attack 1 is set to true if also withdraw is not true. Okay, so if attack 1 is true, it's gonna delay for about a second, and it's gonna set attack 1 to false. Okay, and it's gonna wait for another 4 seconds before setting withdraw to false. So we're going to get attack 1, and we're going to use it to drive our animation. I'm gonna get attack 1 here. We want to do that with the Sevarog animation blueprint. I'm gonna get attack 1, and I'm going to add a variable which I'm going to set using that attack 1. So I'm gonna name it attack 1 as well. I'll put an underscore there so that I know the difference. So now as attack 1 in the animation blueprint is being set by attack 1 in the character in the zombie blueprint. Okay, and I'm gonna have this as a sequence. I'm gonna have a sequence node there so that it's driven separately from the speed. Okay, now in our animation graph, like I said, I'm not gonna make any state machines here. I want something simple that's easy for everybody to work with. Okay, so I'm gonna get a blend by Boo. That's blend poses by Boo. Okay, and this is going to be driven by attack 1. So if attack 1 is true, it's going to play that attack man animation swing 1. So I'm going to look for swing 1 here. I'm going to drag it in. I'm going to hook it up to true. So if attack 1 is true, the swing animation will be playing. If it's false, we're just going to have our idle walk animation playing. And we're going to connect this to the final result. So yeah. Now when we activate attack 1, it works. And then we want, every time this is activated, we want to reset the animation. So I'm gonna check reset child on activation. So now if I click here, the animation plays from the beginning. Even though I unclick it and I click it again, it plays from the beginning. That's how we want it to work. Okay. So now if we get into the game, I think we might have to adjust one or two things, but for the most part I think this will work. Let's see what we've got. So yeah, Sevarog's seen me, he's coming towards me. He reaches me, he attacks me, I get damaged. He attacks me again. He must have missed that time. Must have missed that time as well. So this is to do mostly with the attack window. Okay, so we need to adjust the attack window, and maybe we also need to adjust the size of the collision box. It could be that it's just missing. Okay, so these are all the things that you actually have to consider when you're changing the character, because Sevarog has a completely different build from the zombie. The zombie won't miss so much, whereas Sevarog is gonna miss a lot until we have him set up correctly and perfectly for this blueprint. Okay, so you just have to go in and keep on tweaking until it works correctly. Okay. Or you could come up with your own method. Maybe you could not base it on this collision mesh. Maybe you could just set it so that if he's within a certain range of the character and he attacks, the collision always occurs. Okay, so you can use your own method if you want. So anyway, I'm gonna try and adjust it just a little bit, just to make it work a little bit better. I'll increase the attack window and see if that improves anything. So I'm gonna look for the attack window. I'm gonna increase this to maybe 1 second. Okay, I'll leave this at 0.5 seconds, or even 0.4. I'll reduce it a little bit, and I'll increase this one to 1 second and see if anything changes that helps. I'm gonna play. So that actually probably made it worse instead of better. And just as I'm just gonna increase the size of this as well, and maybe adjust the position of the socket. I'll position it closer over here. And maybe increase the scale just a little bit, just to have a little bit more space for collision. Take it up just a little bit. Yeah, that looks better. So let's try that. Okay, so that works. And just as I said, you just have to keep on adjusting it, and until you get it to work. Usually as you're developing, you run into all these kind of problems, and a lot of the time, unfortunately, people who buy this type of products from us developers, they tend to think that it's a problem that we've created, but this is just the way game development is. It's all about tweaking your stuff and making changes and making it better. You keep on hammering at it until it works. Okay, that's just how it is with this type of work. Okay, it's just like art. You draw something, it's never perfect the first time around. You might have to erase and do it again, and erase and do it again. Sometimes you have to erase the whole thing and start from scratch, but eventually you're gonna get it right. Okay, so the way my project is, by default my zombie is always gonna work correctly, but once I start adding characters like Sevarog, I might have to adjust the collision box, I might have to adjust the collision window and all the rest of that stuff. That's just how it is. Okay, so anyway, basically this is how you can add another character and have him work in your project, your own project, from the fantasy RPG package which is available on my store. So yeah, I think basically I've covered almost everything that I wanted to cover here today. I might okay, we're just gonna try and look at one last thing. I won't go into extreme detail in here, because basically what we've done with Sevarog is what you're gonna have to do in order to change this main character to a different one. Okay, so I'm gonna, yeah, he's dead. Okay, so that works. So I'm gonna show you just very basically how you can switch the main character. Now, the main character is going to be a whole lot more complicated, a whole lot more work, but if you just put your time into it, you will get it to work. So I'm gonna switch the main character to another mesh. We're gonna try and add a character from Paragon here. So the first thing you'll notice is the way this is built and the way Paragon is built is totally different. The costume is not a part of the main character mesh. The main character mesh is just a body. The costume is separate, the arm pads are separate, the hair is separate, all that stuff is separate. Okay, if we went and added a character from Paragon, let's say Shin B. I'll look for Shin B in here. This character has everything on her body, starting from the weapon to the clothes and the hair. It's just totally different from the way my character is structured. If it comes to animations, if I wanted to use my animations with this character, I would probably have to, the easiest way would be to retarget them. But the structure of my character and the structure of this Paragon character is totally different, and retargeting, it's set up in a way that kind of tries to tackle that difference in the structure, because when you're retargeting, you tell it where each bone is. The foot is here, the arm is here, the head is over here. But once you've retargeted, it's not always going to come out perfectly. Okay, and that's because my character and this character are built totally differently. Okay, the structure, she's got long legs, she's got long arms, whereas my character is a bit more petite. Maybe I won't have as much trouble in the arms, but I'll definitely have a lot of trouble in the legs. Okay, so I'm not gonna teach you how to retarget or anything like that. That's basically your job. Okay, yeah, you can go on YouTube and you can learn how to retarget and characters which have got different setups. But at the end of the day, that's something that you should know how to do on your own. It's not something that I should be teaching you, so I'm not gonna include that. What I am going to do is I'm gonna use Shinbi's animations instead of retargeting animations from my own character. Okay, so I'm gonna find Shinbi in the browser here, and I'm gonna replace my warrior character with Shinbi. So I'm gonna hit that button over there, and as you can see, the first thing that's gonna happen is, you know, we've got more than one costume here. We've got our original costume and we've got Shinbi here. So Shinbi is not a customizable character. Okay, so we can't go in and start replacing these costumes without using a third-party app. Okay, and on top of that, we wouldn't be able to customize like maybe the shape of the face, because she doesn't have those morph targets by default. You have to create those on your own in a third-party app. All right, so since we can't use this costume on this character without going into a third-party app, we're just going to remove, I won't delete them, I'll just hide them. Okay, I'll hide the hair, I'll hide the chest armor, the leg armor, the gauntlets, I'll hide the swords and all the rest of that stuff, because Shinbi has our own. Alright, so I'm gonna search for hidden, and I'm gonna set this to hidden in game, and I'm also going to set the visibility off. The preferred thing is, if you just want strictly a Paragon character, the preferred thing would be that you just delete all of these things, but that's going to cause errors in the blueprint. I'll have to start cleaning up the blueprint, so we're not going to do that. So that's the reason I've just decided to hide them. Okay, but if you want to strictly use a Paragon character without like having all those extra pieces, the gauntlets, the leg armor, the character customization, then I would advise that you probably delete and clean up the blueprint. A totally different character would need a totally different type of blueprint. So anyway, we've got Shinbi here, okay? And if we press play, it's quite obvious what's going to happen. She's not going to be able to have any animations while she's moving, but she's gonna move. And another thing, you can notice that my textures have suddenly turned to a very low quality, and that's because probably the texture resolution and my graphics card are not really happy with each other. Okay, Shinbi's resolution is really high, whereas my graphics card's memory is probably just like 6 gigabytes or so. It's not enough to run this. So anyway, this is what happens. So the next thing I'll do is I'll create an animation blueprint for Shinbi. I could probably use Shinbi's default animation blueprint. We could try and see what happens there. Let's see what happens if we use Shinbi's default animation blueprint. I don't think anything great is gonna happen, but let's just see what happens. So these are physics assets. We'll try and use this. Let's open this up. I hope we won't have to compile any shaders. Compressing animations, better than compiling shaders. It doesn't take as long. So we're gonna go back to our warrior blueprint, and we're going to add that animation blueprint here. Okay, so I think we should be able to at least get her to walk around and all the rest of that stuff without making any drastic changes. Okay, so she's able to move around and all the rest of that. So now the question would be, how do we get the animations to play, like if she's attacking and all the rest of it? So I'll just do that real quickly before we end the video. I would prefer to make my own animation blueprint, but let's just see what happens if we use this Shinbi animation blueprint, because we've already covered like how to make our own animation blueprint. So I'm pretty sure the frame rate on the recording has probably gone to hell. That's because my graphics card is being used up a whole lot, so sorry about that. So anyway, hopefully you'll be able to bear it until the end of the video. But if the frame rate has gone down, it's got nothing to do with the project. It's because the textures on Shinbi are so huge, and I don't know, maybe I don't know about the polygon count on her. So anyway, attack. We want to be able to attack. Okay, so this casts to Shinbi character blueprint. Okay, we want to cast to our warrior character blueprint, so I'm gonna add warrior character there. Yeah, if you don't want something messy, it's better you just make your own new blueprint. But anyway, we just want to see how it goes here. Okay, so we'll connect that there, and I'm gonna add another node here. I'm gonna add a sequence that drives the attack. I'm gonna get the attack. I'm gonna get the attack pool from here. So I'm not seeing it. I'm gonna go into my blueprint and I'm gonna see which pool controls the attack. Under attack, we got light attack, we've got light attack 2. So I'll go for light attack 1 and light attack 2. I'm not gonna do like power attack and all the rest of that. So light attack 1 and light attack 2. I'll get light attack 1, and I'm gonna add a variable here. I'll call it attack 1, and this is gonna be driven by light attack 1. And I'm gonna have a light attack 2 there as well. So I added a variable attack 2. I'm gonna add it there. I'm gonna set that, connect it there. I'm gonna get light attack 2 from here. I don't know if I'm moving too fast, but anyway, you really need to have some basic knowledge of Unreal Engine, even before you just like start buying packs from the marketplace. If I compile this, it's gonna give me an error immediately because this is disconnected. So I'm just gonna use a sequence. Probably I would delete this. You should probably delete it, but anyway, I just don't want to mess stuff up and start having to clean up a lot of stuff. That's why I've left it there. So yeah, so we've got attack 1, attack 2. The next thing we are gonna do is we're gonna go into our animation graphs. And I might want to add a new animation graph here, or I'm just gonna go into the main animation graph, the final pause, this final output pause. I'm just gonna put my animations between whatever was there and the final output. So I'm gonna add a blend by bow here. I'm gonna connect false. The false is gonna be driven by whatever was there before, and the true, this first blend by bool, is gonna be driven by attack 1. And I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna do the same thing again. I'll connect this to false, and I'll connect this to the result, and I'll connect attacked 2 to the active value, and I'm gonna find some attack animations from Shimby. So I don't want any wolves. I just want something to do with the sword. Maybe her swinging the sword, the same as what we had with Sevarog. I see a lot of abilities, but I'm not seeing the attack animations. We've got primary melee, so I'm just gonna search for melee here. We've got the primary melee. I don't think there's a secondary melee there. So her legs are okay. This one works better. We've also got this one. We could use them both. So I'll go for this one first. And I'll add that one there. The reason I'm going for this one is because I feel like the length is almost the same as my original character's length. So is this a normal sequence? Yeah, it should be. I'll compile that, and over here if I just go to attack 1. Okay, so we're definitely not using that. Let's just use the primary melee, not the air one, but the slow one. So I'm sure maybe it has something to do with the fact that it's an additive animation or something like that. I've got no idea. I didn't create Paragon, so I don't know what all that stuff is all about. So that's one problem you will definitely run into when you're mixing and matching like different projects. It's not the creator's fault, it's just the way things are. So that one works. And I'll add a second one. Let's go for this one. So one thing you should remember, these are not root motion. My character uses root motion. So things might not come out as perfect as you expect them to. So attack 2, attack 1. And I'm gonna say reset every time you have to play this animation. So reset the child on activation and compile that. And let's play and see if this works. So we've got Sevarog, we've got Shinbi. So yeah, that doesn't seem to work. Mostly all I see is the characters slowing down. So we could try and debug this, try and see exactly why it's not working. But it is working here, so most likely the problem is somewhere here. So yeah, this is the main reason why it would be better to like just create a new animation blueprint. So I'm just gonna go ahead and create a new one, because adding to something that already exists. Yeah, so this is the problem right here. It's the animation blueprint for sure. So I'm gonna make a new one real fast here. So create animation blueprint. We'll open that up. and we'll have to close this stuff down because it's really making our system run slow. So let's just separate this and separate the warrior blueprint, and let's close the rest of this. Hopefully our performance will go back up. So we're gonna go to our event graph, and we're gonna get an isValid. I'm gonna get the owner. Let me compile this and find this asset, and just set this as the default animation blueprint, real nice and fast. So I'm gonna move this through this quickly because we've already done it with Sevarog. I'm gonna get that, we're gonna compile that, and we're gonna add a speed variable. Add a speed there, and set it to a float. Hit enter, compile that, save that, and we're gonna go into the animation blueprint. Before we do much else, we're gonna create a new blend space, or 1D blend space. We're gonna go for Shin-based skeleton. We're gonna open that up. We're gonna name it to idle walk. Let's open that up. And we're going to add a walk, rather forward jog. And we're going to add a idle at the beginning. So you're gonna have to remember to set the speed to the warrior's maximum walk speed. So we're gonna check that. Should be 300 and something, 350. So that's what we want on our access value. So yeah, 350. We're gonna get an idle pose idle animation here that she runs into. Okay, I'll save that. So that's what's gonna happen in between. I don't think she has any walk animations, so we can't blend with any walk animations. I'm gonna search for a walk. I don't think there's anything. Yeah, there's no walk animations. So yeah, while we're playing, this is not gonna be a problem. Okay, so we've got that idle walk blend space. We're gonna connect it here, and we're gonna add those bulls again. Blend by bull. We're gonna have 2 of them because we have 2 attack animations. I'll set this to false, this one to false. We connect this to the result. And we're going to activate this with 2 new nodes, 2 new variables actually. Yeah, forget about this. Now we'll set this to a bool, call it attack 1. Duplicate this. This is gonna be attack 2. And these bulls are gonna drive this one to attack 1, this one to attack 2, and the animations we're gonna use are melee, B slow, and the last one should have been this one here, and we're gonna compile that. So attack 1, attack 2, and let's remember to reset the child on activation. We'll compile that and save that, and under the warrior we want that to be our default animation blueprint. So I'm gonna find that in the blueprint, get back to the warrior and replace that. Okay, I think I already did that. So now the last thing we have to do is just call those from the blueprint. So we're gonna cast this to the warrior blueprint, and our object is gonna be the owner. So try get owner, connect that there, and we get attack 1. We want light attack 1 and light attack 2. We get those two, and we use them to drive these new variables we set up in here. I'm gonna add a sequence here, right, to power both of them. I could probably just because this is a tick, a kind of tick, it's always ticking, so I could probably just connect from here to here, but anyway, I'll just have it like this. I'll connect those two and compile that and save. So if I'm not mistaken, we should have everything set up, except for the collision box that's gonna tell the Sevarog that he's been hit. So yeah, now it works. Both attacks work. So the one thing we've forgotten is the movement, the run. So I'm gonna, I think just here at the sequence, I'm gonna switch this over here, and I'm gonna set the speed. Set the speed variable by getting the velocity from here. We get the velocity and we get the forward vector. Oh, the vector length. And we connect that there. And we go to our idle walk blend space and we connect the speed there. And that should drive the moving animations, the idle and the walk, or the idle and the run. Yeah, so that works. So now what we've got is so Sevarog doesn't get hit. Alright, Sevarog doesn't get hit because we don't have a hitbox on this sword. So the process that you would use to add the hitbox on the sword is exactly the same as what we did before. We get our hitbox and we attach it. So instead of attaching the sword, we're not using the sword anymore. We're gonna disconnect this sword and we're gonna attach the hitbox. I can't see the hitbox. Gonna select it here. Variable name is box. So since I can't see that box here, I have no idea why I can't see it here, but anyway, I'm just gonna get it from here. I'm gonna say box. I'm gonna get box. It's probably in a folder somewhere. Yeah, here it is. So yeah, that's the same thing. I'm gonna connect it. So what you would have done before was that will be connected. Okay, so now that's attached to our character. We are going to have to open up Shinbi's skeletal mesh, and we are going to go for our sword. And we're going to copy the name of the socket there, and that's what we're going to attach our hitbox to. We're going to compile that, and hopefully It's gonna work off the bat. I doubt it will, but compile that. We're gonna change a few options here. We're gonna set it to keep world, rather keep relative scale, keep relative. Compile that. We'll preview it. Probably have to rotate it. Simulate. Yeah, still in the wrong position. We're gonna rotate it. Should be Y. We'll rotate it 90 degrees. Let's compile that. Simulate that. Set it back. Use the other axis. Let's compile that. Okay, that's correct. So I'm going to adjust the socket. I'm going to move it up a little bit. Okay, we probably don't want to do that. Okay, I'm just going to make this quick. Probably what you want to do is make a new socket for that, but I'm just going to increase the length. I'm going to increase the length for this. It's fine. Okay. But you want to make a new socket on Shin B for your sword that's separate from the weapon completely. I'm gonna click play. I'm gonna click play again. So I do believe Sevarog should receive damage. No? No, he's not receiving damage. But anyway, basically this is how you would go about that process. So for Sevarog to receive damage, we're probably gonna have to go deeper into our blueprints and try to figure out what's causing him not to receive the damage. It's probably got something to do with the hitbox or the animation time in. If we open up hit by sword, this is actually from the zombie blueprint. I don't think there's anything wrong with the zombie blueprint. So we've got a weapon can collide button there. So we're gonna have to look at that. Let's search for a weapon. Collide. So maybe this window is just too short. Let's try and set it to 1 second and see what happens. Okay, he's able to get hit now. But it's not every time that he's able to get hit. So these animations, they're not set to work the way our original project works. So you have to adjust the blueprint for it to work correctly. Okay. Probably maybe we could reduce the delay before the weapon can collide. to 0.1 seconds, and maybe it will work every time. If it doesn't, then you just go into the settings, try and adjust them again. Or you could build your own system for it as well. So if you make that adjustment, you can see that he's able to she's able to hit him much more frequently. So as you make those adjustments for the collision windows, the reason why I had to put that there is because if you saw what happened just now, I hit him once, but he got hit several times. Okay, which is why I have a collision window, because I don't want him to be hit multiple times when he's supposed to be hit only once. So if I adjust this maybe to 0.2 or 0.25 or 3, that's gonna reduce. Okay, I can leave this as it is for now because it's not causing us any problems. So anyway, this is basically how you can switch out characters. It's not that complicated. It took me like, I think this video is just an hour long. Just to have that stuff happen, it took me like an hour to make those adjustments. Okay, and add a new character, add a new zombie, add a new Sevarog. So yeah, this is basically how you can go about with that process. You can have multiple enemies here, and if you wanted to add like maybe different types of enemies, you just create another blueprint, and then whenever it's cast, whenever you hit that new character, just make sure the cast is there in your character blueprint. Yeah, and you make the necessary adjustments to get everything to work properly. Okay, so you really have to like go through the blueprints. All the information is there. Okay, when it's switching to the second attack, the information is there. When it's attacking, the information is there. So you just need to go through this blueprint and see where you need to make the adjustments to make it work with your own project. Okay, and this has to be done with almost any type of marketplace project, whether you're using a AI tree, or you're using numerators, or you're using functions, and you're using whatever it is. You're gonna have to go into that blueprint. You're gonna have to break it down. You're gonna have to see what does what, and then you're gonna have to make the adjustments necessary for it to work the way you want it to work. So anyway, I think that just about covers everything. Just a closing note, when you're dealing with different projects, you're going to run into different problems. For example, let's say you've purchased the fantasy RPG kit and you want to make it work with survival game kit version 2. This product was made by a different person. Okay, so the way his blueprints are set up, totally different from the way my blueprints are set up. They might not communicate with each other very, very well. Okay, so in that case, you're gonna have to figure it out, especially on your own, considering the fact that maybe I have never used Survival Game Kit 2, so I don't know what to expect from there. So I can't really make my project in a way that works very well with Survival Game Kit 2. So if you look at this product, this is one of my products, and I got a 1-star review because it wasn't very compatible with Survival Game Kit 2. Okay, so I can't really do anything about that because I don't own this project, and I can't make my project work according to what other people have made. Diffuse Studios has made his projects totally different from what another developer on the marketplace has made. Let's say character interaction, for example. character interaction is one of the best, I think, marketplace products out there. Okay. Survival Game Kit is obviously very good as well, because there's almost no like negative review here. Okay. But Survival Game Kit and character interaction were not made by the same people, so if you try to merge Survival Game Kit with character interaction, you're gonna run into a whole lot of problems. The same way if you try to merge, like for example, this male character which I created with Survival Game Kit. So somebody was trying to migrate it there, and he sent me an email and asked me how to do it. And I told him that I've never used Survival Game Kit, so I can't really explain that to you, but I gave him a few tips of how he could go about it. And unfortunately for him, he had a hard time like merging those two projects together. And well, for some reason he decided to blame me for it. I mean, yeah, you've got the right to review my product however you want, but he went as far as saying as you get no reply from the creator when asking for help. I talked to this guy several times, and I sent him emails on the reason why I couldn't really help him out was because, I would have to purchase this project, which costs more than the product which he bought from me. So anyway, he's got every right to review my products the way he wants. But the point I'm trying to make is, I create my products with the intention of having them work with my other products. So when my product doesn't work with something that a completely different studio has made right out of the box, I know it can definitely work with this survival kit if I took the time to try and merge it the same way I've taken the time to try and merge it with the Paragon assets and gotten it to work. I know that I can get this survival game kit to work as well with my product, but I have to be willing to do that. Okay, the same way you have to be willing to do it if you want it to work with another product. Okay, but what I'm not willing to do is start purchasing other people's products and breaking them down and making my product work with theirs, because that's a totally different job. That's not my work. Actually, if you want to use somebody else's product with my product, it's your work to get them to work together. Okay, it's just part of being an Unreal Engine developer, especially if you're an indie developer. If you're not an indie developer, you're probably not going to buy these products, and you're probably not going to have to run into that trouble. Okay, so anyway, I could spend an hour telling you about how you can get a Paragon character to work with my product, because I don't have to spend any money. I don't have to buy the Paragon products. That stuff is free. Okay, but when it comes to Survival Game Kit, which was made by a totally different person, it's a really good product. But for you to merge my product with that, if you look at my products, for example, this is the only person who's ever reviewed this, and this doesn't really sell much. It's not even that complex a product. But if you look at Fantasy RPG, it's 4 out of 5 stars, and that's because a lot of people have bought this product, they've used it, they've reviewed it, and they've seen that it's a good enough product to give 4 out of 5 stars. Whereas this one person who failed to merge with another survival kit, which I as a developer have never even used before, decided to blame it on my product, that my product wasn't working correctly, so it deserved a 1-star review. And what really happened was he's just not competent enough with Unreal to actually get it to work. Okay, you need to be competent enough with this stuff. When you can't manage, you ask for help, but I can only go so far. I can't go as far as purchasing other products in order to help you out. So, and on top of that, this review was totally false, because he said I never replied to his emails, when I definitely did reply to his emails. On the same day he sent me those emails. Actually, he sent me an email on the 23rd of January, and I replied on that same day, and we kept on talking after that, but I never really, he never really managed to merge it with this product. And yeah, anyway, you get my point. So anyway, I think that's the end of this video. If you need to merge with another marketplace product, you have to consider the fact that these are made by different people, so they're not going to work together. It's more like getting the brake pads off of a Toyota and trying to merge them with Mitsubishi. It's not gonna work. Those are different companies. They have different components. They build their things in different ways. Okay. Unreal is a little bit easier to work with than something as complicated as a car, so you can figure out how to do it the same way we've just figured out how to add Sevarog and Shin-B to this project. Okay. So, at the end of the day, we all have to be willing to carry our weight. I carry the weight of making this product and modeling these characters and all the rest of that stuff, but you have to carry the weight of migrating it with products which I myself have never even used before, because I can't explain to you how to merge it with Survival Game Kit. So anyway, that was a bit of a rant on my side, but I just felt like it was something that needed to be said. I really like it when people are understanding, like Khalid. Khalid is the same person who asked me to show him how to do this, and I've shown how to do this in this video. And I don't expect Khalid to give me a 1-star review because he can't migrate his product to Survival Game Kit, because that's not my product. He knows that, I know that, and the compatibility is not gonna be the same. There's gonna be a lot of work to do to get it to work. So yeah, I hope other developers can really try to understand that it's not as simple as download, plug it into another product and play. It's complicated work. So anyway, I hope this video was insightful for you guys. And yeah, basically this is how you can go about that process. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and if you ever need any help, you can ask me. If it's something that is within my scope, I will help you out. If it's not within my scope, I'll try and give you a tip where I think I can be helpful. But if it's not within my scope, Survival Game Kit wasn't within my scope, so and maybe I deserve a 1-star review on my product because it wasn't within my scope. But anyway, that's up to you guys. I won't ask Epic to remove the review or try to provide them with evidence that I did in fact reply to the emails. You do you. Okay, if that's how you feel about the product, then that's fine. Yeah. So so this is basically the process. So I'll see you guys next time, and I hope you guys stay safe in this pandemic period. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time.